is what we call hater shit. There is no better term.
You know me. If you know me, you know me. If you know, you know. You know, so. Who raised you? Okay.
You got Xavier. Oh, gotta fix her waist trainer there, buddy.
Why did I come on here? Oh, yeah.
Oh, she couldn't breathe. My bad. She couldn't breathe. She had to unleash it.
Why did I come on here? Oh, yeah.
Why are you whispering?
Last year, for Thanksgiving, we went to a party.
What party?
And spin. And guess who we brought? My father.
Aww.
It was me, Xavier, and my dad.
That's cool.
So, this year it's Thanksgiving, and we have no plans. I'm literally working. What are you guys doing for Thanksgiving?
Well, we know what you did. Look, she does this. She wants people to find her, and people do find her. Where are we? See, Heather, stop saying you're being stalked. You want people to do this.
We're doing the first of a 12-part series, and I'll be doing the same thing on my other various social media platforms. I want to keep this very concise and focused, despite the fact that I definitely have ADHD, and it's very difficult for me to stay on topic with, and it's very difficult for me to stay on topic with so many, as they call it, dilutions that have taken place. And what do I mean by diluting? Anything that you add water to or dilute becomes less strong, less clear, less concentrated, right? So there have been a number, and by a number, I mean too many to count, into the thousands, possibly 10,000s of intrusions that could be referred to as diluting the situations that have taken place with me. So let's start with this. I have a 10-year history of healthcare industry career. My education formally.
Get a job. Bless you.
Excuse me, pardon me. My education formally began as a nursing student, doing gen ed prereqs for entry to the nursing program. I also, during that time, became a certified medical assistant and phlebotomist through Illinois School of Medical Careers, which ultimately lost its accreditation, and they were doing federal student loan forgiveness on that program. That was a one-year program. I also did a medical office specialist program, HIPAA, medical law and compliance, through the First Institute in Lombard, Illinois. That was just like a 6-month certification program for billing, coding, HIPAA, OSHA, and medical standards with regards to what you have to do to not get sued, and for reimbursement from the doctors. So I did that. Following that, I started community college, and I decided that I wanted to take the medical assisting experience I had and take my prerequisites for nursing. I had a plan to go to West Suburban Nursing School.
Oh my gosh.
Which is...
Heather, if you are listening, can you please stop saying like what happened in the past? Stop like just dreading on the past. Can you please just like whenever you go live, just be like, this is what we've been up to today, you know? Just do that. FTR that. There's only so many people who can actually do a gig job like that, you know, and be able to pay their bills and shit.
Decided that I wanted to take the medical assisting experience I had and take my prerequisites for nursing. I had a plan to go to West Suburban Nursing School, which is a 4-year school. All nursing schools for RN are 4 years or more, not including gen eds. If you do, the way that I was taking the program, if you do decide that you want to be an LPN, you can exit after 36 months, I want to say, or 24. And then later on, there's an LPN acceleration program where you can go from LPN to RN, be SRN, or just bachelor's degree to RN. I'm not sure which one.
Okay, anyways, it doesn't matter, Heather.
Just completely online once you have the LPN, but there's so many clinical hours that are required to be on campus. So I started at College of DuPage, for just gen eds.
Good.
I transferred to Triton College.
Xavier.
I got a whole bunch more gen eds. I did all of like the normal business gen eds for just gen eds. I transferred to Triton College. I got a whole
He's
bunch
so
more
tired
gen
of her.
eds. I did all of like the normal business gen eds. So speech, economics, biology, chemistry, parenting, things like that, English, things like that, just regular gen eds that you have to have before you can even be considered for a spot on the waiting list for nursing. At that time, I had two small children, Vivi and Lewis. When I first started school as a medical assistant, I was pregnant with Viviana, and I wanted to work, who's now 19 years old, and I wanted to work as soon as possible, which is why I chose medical assisting rather than nursing. I needed to work. I needed money. I needed to stabilize. I needed to purchase a house for my kids. This has been my goal since before my children were born. But no matter how many hours I put into, school, I still was on and off working in the household, and also recovering from a whole bunch of adversity over my teenage years. And what that means is without any sort of criminal record or reason. So I had not done any crimes. I had never tried a drug. I had never tried a drop of alcohol. I was sent to Jamaica to this WWASP school called Tranquility Bay, where I was left in a third world country with no warning or understanding of why or when I would come home. And the school was closed down for many counts of aggravated or allegations of aggravated abuse against children, financial, psychological, sexual, and physical. I did witness them break a guy's arm like it was a twig, like it was a fucking popsicle stick right in front of me.
Why are you trying to block Xavier? You're such a bitch.
I did witness them break a guy's arm like it was a twig, like it was a fucking popsicle stick right in front of me.
Bitch.
So that happened. Now, trying to readjust to regular life was very hard and scary. When I came home, I had my own apartment, and I had never been alone before. I went from the family home setting to a setting, a dorm style, with probably 20 other women in the same space where I was sleeping. The only exception to that was, as I said, as soon as I aged out of these types of programs that I was in from 14 to 18, I was able to get my own apartment. And from there was a lot of transitioning, a lot of moving around, a lot of being, how I felt thrown around without stability. Can you get me a C4 and some rainstorms at this?
Oh, no. You don't want him to be on the camera. You're aggravated because he's getting a Coca-Cola and he's in the back and you want him to go get you something. Let him be on the camera then, whore.
Can you get me a C4 and some rainstorms?
Can you get me
Does this jewel have them? You have the card, right?
He doesn't want to go in.
I'll try right now. It's not in the trunk. Just try at this jewel, please.
She's so demanding.
I started my career path from a huge deficit, comparatively speaking. My peer groups had already been socializing with other people in their age group for years, attending work for years, having free will, being able to go to parties and proms and homecomings, and that was just not the situation for me. I had nothing. I did nothing. I was institutionalized with women who were there for drugs, for gang violence, for murders, for thefts, huge thefts. And I'm not talking about going into the store or eating, someone else's lunch at work. I'm talking about, elaborate schemes where people were purchasing remote controlled garage door openers, universal garage door openers, and programming them in Hinsdale and Elmhurst and Oak Brook, and going into people's homes while they were at work and just emptying out their entire garage at the pawn shops.
I don't like how these sunglasses do your nose.
Just various things like that. These were big crimes from where I'm from. I had never interacted with or had experience with criminals in this regard before. So I was 14 years old and basically being exposed to a demographic that was there for either crimes like that or because they were completely insane, depressed, or like self-harming. I had never done any of those things. So, my mom, I I don't think was in control of these situations. And I do also feel there was a significant amount of using my life to see what was going on in the facilities and lives of other people, which, by the way, I was never compensated for, if anyone cares. Now, on top of that, psychologically, when you're separated at 18 years old from your family, when you come from a single family home with your mother, your sister, your father, that's how I was raised from birth all the way until I was 14. I was in a household of 4 people, my mother, my sister, and my father, and I. And we lived in this pretty stable environment where my daily looked like this. Wake up, go to school on the bus, or my mom would drop us off.
Please
stop. The bus stop was a block away. We went to school with all the same neighborhood kids and all the same kids from our neighborhood, that we played with, Ghost in the Graveyard, and, obstacle courses and rollerblading up and down the street, and, all of these little regular, kid stabilities that you don't even identify as a stable thing or as being stability, but it is. And in its absence, it hurts, and you feel scared, and you don't know, especially at 14, what is going on. And the way that I had to go there was this. It was a week before my birthday. My birthday is January 12th, and my life path is 11/2. KB.
So annoying. I can't stand you.
With that being said, my mom called me, and she said, for your birthday, we're going to take you to Jamaica for a religious retreat.
Oh my
gosh. Don't tell your father. Because
way.
we know he doesn't have a lot of money right now.
Shut
He's
up.
going through financial turmoil.
That's so fucked up.
My father had been incarcerated for not being able to pay child support.
I don't want to hear it.
My father, and he hit full time until his body gave out. And they just put him in there. They put him in DuPage County Work Release Program, no phone, no car, in the winter. And they made him walk from that facility just randomly around Wheaton, asking people for jobs. And he had to explain to everyone how humiliating is it that he was in prison because he had a $20,000 purge, which a judge in the divorce said that my father had to come up with all of this money, and my father didn't have it. My father left my mother everything, the house, the cars, everything. So it was just a fucked up situation. I'm seeing my father, who works, just as hard as my mother does. My mother was always a hard worker. She would always work 2 jobs. My father would work manual physical labor. And he had just, been released from this work release program, and he had no idea what was going on. And we saw him on the weekends. And my mom said, don't tell your dad, because we don't want him to get, to feel bad or inadequate, that he can't get you a birthday gift like this. She had been remarried to my stepfather, who was a big fancy stockbroker for the Board of Trade. And, my father was unfairly incarcerated. Like, you can't, it would be one thing if he was making a gang of money and refusing to help. It was never like that. My father was, giving what he could give and spending very little outside of what he could give.
Boring. Let's go to this. Let's
paying
go to
his
today.
rent, and that's it.
Oh my gosh. Heather, the most valuable fucking advice I could give you right now is stop living in the fucking past. If you want to come on live, why don't you start talking about the future? You can still do your fucking FTRs and everything like that, but you don't have to talk about everything that everyone's already heard. We already heard it. Whether it's the same story or you're switching up the stories. We're tired of it. Get to something else.
It reminds me of how I'm living right now, if we're being honest. But
You're never honest.
I get sent to this place, and my mom's telling me, we're going to leave tomorrow. She told me the day before, we're going to leave tomorrow on your actual birthday. We're going to be there around 4 a.m. to pick you up. I was sleeping over at my Aunt Marilyn's house. And don't worry about packing a bag. We're only allowed to travel with bins. And I have your bin packed. And I'm like, a bin? What the fuck does that mean? So you're only allowed to bring a Rubbermaid bin because when you arrive at this place, you're in uniform the entire time. You're not allowed to bring shit. You can't have anything. So here I am thinking I'm going to take a beautiful Jamaican vacation, and the plane lands, and my mom says, you're not coming back with us. And I said, what do you mean I'm not coming back with you? I'm 14 years old. And she said, you're not coming back with us. I was listening to an album, Word of Mouth by Ludacris.
Oh my God.
And I remember the song. I remember everything. I was listening to the song, Move, bitch, get out. I'm doing 100 on the highway. So if you do the speed limit, get the fuck out of my way. And I said out loud, I'm DUI, hardly ever caught sober, and you about to get ran the fuck over. And my mom had never heard me swear before. I'd never cursed in front of my mother. And it was just as easy as that she didn't even speak to me with compassion anymore. She wanted me gone. And she did not like, the way that I was living. And the way that I was living was I had no social group. I worked in a movie theater. I was not allowed to hang out with my friends, but I listened to rap music. That was, what was going on. And she said because I was listening to that music, I spoke with a nasty attitude.
That's not why you win. Stop it.
And that I, needed an adjustment to my attitude. That was her entire deal.
I'm going to fast forward you if you don't stop.
It was very, fucked up for me because I didn't feel like that was not only fair, but
I don't think that's true, Heather.
Only having a few hours to prepare for something like that. And I was already in Jamaica landed, when she told me. Then we get to this place and I still didn't think it was true. And she just leaves me there. And I had the return flight home information. And I remember thinking, there's no way they're going to leave me. Maybe they're going to scare me for a few days, maybe for, 3 days, 4 days. But when this flight is set to go back to Chicago, I'll be on it. And that flight, date and time came, and then it went. And I was not on that flight with my family. I was left in Jamaica for a year. No communication with my peers, not allowed to call home. You could write a letter once a week on Sundays. They gave us 30 minutes to write a letter, but they read all the letters. And if you said anything about any of the abusiveness that was going on in the situation, they said you were a manipulator and they wouldn't send your letter home to your parents.
What?
So it was a very fucked up situation.
Oh my gosh, I don't want to hear about this.
Then I come back from Jamaica, and you know who calls people manipulators? People who can't manipulate them. Literally. What's going on?
Do you know who call people manipulators? People who can't manipulate them.
Literally. What's going on, Xavier?
Just C4.
What's going on, Xavier? You see I'm doing an FTR from fucking 15 years ago, bro. What is going on? Still don't get that.
Literally. What's going on, Xavier?
What's going on, Xavier?
Just C4s.
1 C4, and the rains are usually 3 for 5. Watch this by.
She's like, what's up, Xavier? I thought she was like making sure he was okay, but she's like, what's up, man? Why are you still in the fucking car? Go get my shit.
Just C4s.
1 C4, and the rains are usually 3 for 5. Watch this bicyclist. Please hurry. So, that happened. So during this time that I'm starting my career in healthcare, all I'm thinking about is I don't want to be that mom that is not there for her kids. If I take a 4-year education in a traditional education setting, I'm not going to be home at all because I'm going to have to work to support myself and my children and be in school full time. So I found a hybrid online as well as with American Intercontinental University. I transferred over my credits and I started doing only my sciences on campus, biology, chemistry, anything that needed lab, I would do on campus, and everything else I would do online. The kid's father was always helpful. He would go to work and bring me his check. But back in these days, the checks for full-time employment, minimum wage in a factory setting were like $200 or $300 a week. So it was really not shit, especially for a mom and a dad with 2 small babies. And I just remember being so thirsty, so hungry for financial independence. I was raised in a middle-class household. The property value around where I grew up could easily range into the millions.
What?
And the people, were pretty classy, from a traditional sense of the word. And that's how I grew up. We went to church every Sunday. We went to Sunday school. My mother was a Sunday school teacher. She would still have drinks and stuff during the week. We would still go to her girlfriend's house on the weekends and have a pool day on Saturday or whatever. But that was the way that I grew up. I had structure. I woke up in the morning. I walked to the bus stop with my sister. Went to school, came home. We had to sit down at the kitchen table and do our homework until it was done. We could not move. No snacks, no anything until dinner time. When my father got home from work between 4 and 4:30. We would get home from school around 3:30 or 4. My father would get home from work between 4 and 4:30. He would check our homework, make sure that it was done. If it was done, we could go outside and play until the street lights came on. My mom would get home around 6:30, sometimes
really
7. She'd make
glasses.
dinner, we'd eat. We'd go straight to the bathtub after dinner. We'd put on 1 or 2 shows. My mom would make us a late night snack, usually a fruit plate, sometimes a bowl of ice cream. And then we'd brush our teeth and go to bed. And it was the same every single day until that major disruption when I was 14 years old and I got, sent to Jamaica. When I came home from Jamaica, I was put in all these fucking places. You have no idea. Group homes, residential living facilities where girls would spend 3, 4, 5 years there.
Yeah, that's
I
sad.
only spent about 3 months in each of these facilities. I think the longest facility I ever stayed in was Jamaica. I was there for almost 1 year. And then when I left Jamaica, I was in the DuPage County 6-month program, and that was for running away from home. Had no criminal activity in my record, had never tried any drug, not a single drug in my entire life, ever. Was not associated or affiliated with any crimes or any sort of, unlawful behavior. Had never been in a fist fight, didn't know how to use a weapon, had never seen a gun in real life, nothing like that, nothing at all. So I'm adjusting to life back home, and as a free person at 18 years old, 17, I aged out of the system, and got an apartment at 17, and they considered me an adult at that time and terminated my, I don't know what you could call it when the system decides where they're going to put you. My mom had no say-so anymore. I went to Jamaica. When I came home from Jamaica, I ran away one time.
Why?
And they assigned me a PO called Kathy Bakken. And Kathy Bakken became the person who was responsible for everything that was going to go on with me from then on. And Kathy Bakken looked evil. She was very dark hair, dark brows, very thick and bushy. And that's when I first started to realize that there was good and there was evil in this world, and that there were people who would prey on kids, and that's fucked up. With that being said, I didn't do anything like the rest of the girls did. The psychological disorders in these facilities were tremendous. When I tell you that these women would cut their arms so deeply and so all over their bodies, they would just have these huge cut marks. And I've spoken about this girl. Shout out to Tammy. I don't know her last name and I don't want to embarrass her, but there was a girl that I was in a facility with for approximately 5 to 7 months who they had to shave her head because she was disturbed. She would get upset and grab her hair by the handful and just yank it out. Like, have you ever yanked out a weed by the root?
Can we?
Okay, she wasn't just yanking the tops off her hair, the weed, the tops off the weeds. She was going in and getting it by the root, and her scalp would just begin bleeding. And they had to shave her head because of it. And this was what I was, in a facility with. This is what was around me for 14 to 18, 17 and a half years old.
Dude, that's so sad.
There were a very small handful of girls that I felt I could relate to, who were from backgrounds similar to my own, who didn't, in my eyes, didn't deserve to be in that sort of incarceration. It was sick, and from where I was sitting, I needed to watch my back at all times. There was never any time to process the feelings of abandonment and being, thrown out of the house at that age, at 14. Being dropped off in a foreign country where you're told you're not allowed to speak to even your peers. We're going to break some guy's arm in front of you. I don't know if it's an intimidation tactic. They claimed that he was being unruly. I didn't witness any of that. A girl jumped off of the balcony to kill herself, a 14-year-old little girl, and they had to install bars from the balcony railing to the top of the balcony.
Why would they
This
not
is where I
already
was,
do
and
that?
this place advertised themselves to my mother as like a volleyball retreat camp. Like,
That's
they'll be
crazy.
out on the beach playing sand volleyball, having a real, good time. And we were not allowed to go on the beach. If we even looked in the direction of the beach, we were on the coast. I mean, we were about 10 feet away from the ocean. If we looked over the 30 or 40-foot walls while we were on the upper level of the deck where our school was to look at the ocean, they charged us with something called run play. And put us in a place called observation placement, where you laid on your face on cement, similar to how they kept me my entire pregnancy on the cement at Belmont Harbor Yacht Club, and attached my entire pregnancy with Weston, which, by the way, I've never received any restitution on any of that either, or an explanation, or even a fucking apology. But moving forward from that, I began a career in healthcare. I got a job in
Why is
multiple
your
different
hazard lights
locations
on?
and
Is this
things. I was
legal?
working at Gottlieb Hospital. I was working at West Suburban Medical Group. And I got another job, my first job after medical assisting school, assisting a doctor with infrared coagulation on hemorrhoids. After that, it was a pedicure type of position where I would soak the toenails of the elderly.
What?
Big, thick, nasty toenails that they could not see or maintenance on their own, in preparation for the podiatrist to come through and either remove the infected toenail or manicure the toenails. Patients with diabetes who had limited mobility commonly were not permitted to cut their own toenails because claudication causes numbness in the extremities, specifically the fingertips and the tips of the toes. When you have that going on, it's not plus, visual impairments, which many diabetics have visual impairments combined with claudication, which is, it could be diabetic retinopathy.
Oh my gosh,
there are
stop
just a
taking so
million
much
different
Adderall.
things that could cause it. But not having clear vision combined with not having 100% feeling in your extremities, the fingertips and the tips of the toes. When you have that going on, it's not plus, visual impairments, which many diabetics have visual impairments combined with claudication, which is, it could be diabetic retinopathy. There are just a million different things that could cause it. But not having clear vision combined with not having 100% feeling in your extremities causes people to cut the skin, the flesh, and then that flesh becomes infected. And when you cut your flesh and you don't see it or feel it because you have a decrease in sensitivity due to the claudication, there's a huge, or not so much today in 2025 anymore, but back then in 2000, early 2000s when I started my career in medicine, it was very common for people to have gangrene and need amputation. I mean, that was a real thing. There were people without fingers, without arms, without feet, because they were getting their limbs cut off because they would injure themselves or cut themselves with a nail clipper. And, their foot would fall off or their toe would fall off. Literally, it would turn literally infected and it would either be removed or, just die. And necrosis would cause, the limb to just literally fall off. So I worked in various medical fields, and I think that the real purpose for that, when you're a doctor or a nurse, you get what they call a residency or an internship. And when you have those residencies and internships, you go on rotations in different medical
She's talking about a whole lot of nothing,
kind of specialties. So you could do OB 1 month, you could do ER medicine the next month, you could do primary care and internal medicine the next month, you could do podiatry the next month, you could do neurology the next month. You can choose what major you'd like to specialize in, or what specialty you'd like to specialize in, and then you can kind of play the field until you decide what you want. I didn't get that option. I had to take the first job that I could find at all times. But I quickly found out what I liked and what I didn't like. Podiatry was not for me, probably is part of the reason why I have a phobia of feet to this very day, or a general disgust or dislike.
All right.
Now, with that being said, I do appreciate the fact that I got to work in so many different capacities. I worked also in a cardiovascular institute with Parag Doshi, Chicago Cardiovascular Institute in Elk Grove Village, which has now turned into a huge thing. This doctor went from like one single office when I met him and worked with him to one of the largest cardiovascular groups, practices in the Midwest area. So reputable. So I was, very grateful to learn these things. At that job, I actually got my very first sterile assistant job, meaning I needed to sterilize all of the equipment and scrub the doctor in for surgery. So there's a protocol when you give a doctor sterile garb. You have to only handle it from the inside out. You have to wear sterile gloves yourself. You have to cover your mouth. There's a very specific, way that you need to prepare the doctor for this type of surgical procedure. And I was really grateful to be able to be a part of that and to learn that. It turns out that I actually was working a little bit below my pay grade. And so I found a job at Northwestern Hospital, which was my longest relationship with the medical field. I was there for about 6 years. I was hired to work in endocrinology, assisting Dr. Renee Aronson, and then doing coverage for Walter Staller. By the end of the time I was there, I also had taken on rheumatology. I had Dr. Carly Scamra, Linda Maletti, and Anjali Gopal. I worked with a nurse, Teresa Corsentino, in that, regard. She did most of the kennel log injections and clinical preparation, and I handled everything else. So there was a lot going on there, and I was a great employee there for 5-6 years. In 2015, now mind you, during that time I had 2 small children, Viviana and Lewis, who were about 18 months from each other. They lived with me full time with their father. When their father and I separated, they started living with me 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. And my ex's parents, the suegro, would come and pick them up from my house.
We've heard this so
and bring
much,
them to school, pick them up from school, babysit them for about an hour afterwards.
So they had them more
and then when I would get home from work, I lived in Elmwood Park at that time, they would bring them to me. It was during this time that I also found out I was pregnant with Alexis. And Orlando and I, Alexis's father, had been together for 3 years before I found out before I ended up getting pregnant. Also on birth control, for anyone who's, thinking otherwise. I got pregnant with all of my children
on birth control?
Some form of birth control.
How convenient.
I've never just been impregnated by chance,
sure.
But for that reason, I always say, you can never take away my job as a mother. You'll never get it from me, ever, no matter what you do or how good you think you are. I wasn't supposed to get pregnant ever, and I have 4 living, healthy, I don't want to call them rambunctious. They're intelligent, well-spoken, fun, motivated, really cool kids. So, that's that. Some higher power gave me those children. Some power way higher than human life. Now, when I left my career in the medical field, I've discussed this so many times, and I'm going to go on for...
This is so boring, Heather. Fuck.
Right now, we're at 28 minutes. I'm going to go 2 more minutes, and then we're just going to pick up in the second part of the 12-part series.
Maybe this
tomorrow.
Is a series?
I don't like to get into all of it too much at one time, but...
I didn't even know.
I got a job at Northwestern because I wanted to feel like my kids could be proud to tell people what their mother did for a living. I wanted a career, not just a job.
Oh my gosh, I know.
And I wanted to be doing something that was helpful, that saved people's lives and brought joy and happiness to people's lives. That's what I wanted to do. That's what I thought I was doing. One day, after working way too much for way too long, way too many hours for way too little pay, and having a late postpartum hemorrhage with my daughter Alexis, I got reprimanded at Northwestern and accused of gender and sexual orientation discrimination. I actually interviewed a woman named Gina, a lesbian, who introduced herself to me as the rocket science student with the dykey haircut. And I thought it was so funny. And I thought, this girl's hilarious. She's a team player. I interviewed her thoroughly. She had everything that we were looking for. I let the doctors all interview her. They liked her. I'm like, let's hire her. I recommended her for hire. After I came back from the late postpartum hemorrhage, this woman had the audacity. She's a bitch. Okay, period. Had the audacity.
She totally changed up.
To tell my superiors that I was gender discriminating against her because I referred to her as Gina with the dykey haircut, which is the way she introduced herself to me. And I thought a little inside joke that we had. So she reported it to HR. I got called down to HR. HR wanted me to work for free a 6th day of the week, Saturdays. And I decided that was not possible. I had 3 small children. I was not going to come in on Saturdays to do sensitivity training. So I left. I went back to my office after 6 years of working for Northwestern Hospital and for my doctors, and without giving any sort of, verbal description of the circumstances, completely frustrated working, 50 plus hours a week, and unpaid because we were not allowed to receive overtime at Northwestern. You had to clock out at 40 hours.
Sucks.
So no matter if my work was done or not, I was there off the clock,
Not
working.
me.
And
Not
I left, and within a week, I already got an offer as an office manager at an ophthalmology clinic. And I loved that because there it was like I got to do purchasing. I got to purchase designer frames. I got to work with manufacturers like Luxottica. I got to, do the shopping. I got to do everything, from the ground up, billing, coding, clinical preparation with regards to visual field examination, and numerous other things. I really liked it. I was working for 3 doctors. And Orlando and I broke up. That's Alexis's dad.
Xavier's been gone for a long minute.
Into a space where, for the first time in my entire life, Saturday and Sunday would come around and I had no significant other and my kids were with their fathers. And I was alone in my apartment as a 27-year-old woman for the first time in my entire life. So I went and got a job working bottle service for Saturday and Sunday. So I was still working full-time as an office manager in a doctor's clinic, and then I took a bottle service job on the weekend. And that's where I'll leave you guys for today.
Oh, thank you.
I hope everyone has a happy Thanksgiving.
My gosh.
And I hope that everyone will be tuning in sometime tomorrow or watching the replay. I like to do these live because I am going to be using this 12-part series to hire someone. I'm hoping to start working with them soon, within the next week, to create my documentary. I want to keep it to an hour long, but be really informative so that I can also start fundraising for solutions.
Fundraising.
But so we're leading off with, I have, been working at this point in time. It's 2015. I have been working in healthcare for 10 years. I recently got a job as a bottle service person, and my kids are living with me Monday through Friday. I have 3 children living with me Monday through Friday and going to their fathers on the weekends. So we're throwing it back to pre-Weston times. And like I said, happy Thanksgiving, you guys. And I look forward to picking up with part 2 of 12.
I didn't know this day would ever come. It looks to me like Heather has gotten monetized. That is so crazy. Look at her. She done figured it out. It's so loud. You can hear like the little crinkles in her breathing. Boom. Like, she keeps looking at herself in the mirror. We should do it in the mirror. Like she do it in the mirror. Be cautious. It's bigger than it appears. Sorry, I like it when they dance and work out. I work out. Same old stupid ugly shoes. I hate these shoes. I don't know why. I dislike them very much. Oh, here comes another victim who wants to work out. But will he be in Heather's video? He saw the camera. Shit. Bitch. Excuse me. Do I hear her stretching? Oh, there we go. Aw, he's gonna... Hello? How are you? I'm sorry if she's such a bitch and she's recording everything. That's so fucking annoying. People who go to gyms, they like to work out. Be in their own mind. Just work out. They don't want to be fucking filmed. I can see him looking. I feel like he's talking shit in some other language. Damn, Heather. Throwing your fucking water ball down. Where's your Xavier? It came off. Nope. Another victim? Maybe. It's about to come off. I could hear it. Like, y'all hear that Velcro? Oh my gosh. It's about to pop back open, Heather. Be careful. Oh my gosh, it's so boring, Heather. Why don't you do more of a twist? I'm sorry. I'm just while I'm sitting here on my ass. No, do it like this. Goodness gracious, her breathing's hard. She's so loud. She's breathing so hard. What was she going to do? Oh, she just went, oh, I see you. Oh, gosh. Give them big old butt and them big old legs. I ain't too hard a bit. Balls flying everywhere. I like the way she rock. Her hips. Oh my gosh, I'm so bored. Donkey kick that thing. I hate that noise. Can we please end it? Oh my gosh. This is so... Oh no, no, no. Oh my God. Oh my gosh, if I fucking hear that one more time, I'm about to throw my phone. I'll be back momentarily. Oh my fucking gosh, I don't know. You better end this fucking shit. That is about to drive me crazy. Oh my gosh, can I fast forward this? Oh look, it'll be funny. Let's do it. I cannot do that noise. Like, y'all don't understand. Oh look, she's working. Ow, 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 ow. That hurt. Let's do it while she's doing her abs. Look how quick she works out. She's a quick worker outer. Go, girl, go. This noise is horrendous. I cannot take it. Just imagining, this is her 2 times. Oh my gosh. I'm trying to cover my mouth. We gotta watch this part. Yes, I've been waiting for this. Go, girl. Get it, girl. Get it, girl. Oh, yeah. Who's the bitch? Hello, bitch. Who's the man? Not Xavier. Aww. Oh my gosh, I can't do it. This is about to crazy, y'all. Don't get mad. Don't get mad if I have to 2 times it, please. Heather's really tired anyways, and if I 2 times it, it'll make her look better. It's like, oh no, she's coming to the phone. Walk back. Okay, 2 times. This is almighty boring, Heather. Oh my gosh. I wonder if she goes there for John's. I have to do that at my house. I can't stretch like that at the gym. I stretch before I go to the gym, really. I can't be doing all that in front of people. Are we done? Oh wait, there's a phone over there too. Is that her phone? Does she have two phones going at the same motherfucking time? This is kind of weird watching this. Heather. Oh, okay. I might 2x it again. I'm sorry. Everybody's so fast. Look at y'all go. Whoa, girl. Oh, look at her. Girl, I know what you're doing over there. Get up.
Get away. Discussing most of this in the 12-part series. But I just got done with my workout. It's Thanksgiving Day, so the gym is closing at noon. Why we don't have Export anymore is absolutely beyond me. Export was the best gym ever, anywhere, no matter what. Like, I think Export was better than Lifetime, better than Equinox. A 24-hour gym, when you get off work and your body hurts so fucking bad and you just want to sit in the sauna or sit in the hot tub, there is no comparison to that. Like, Lifetime and Equinox are beautiful, like, with regards to quality. The quality far surpasses LA Fitness and Export by far, and Planet by far. I mean, there's no comparison. I worked out at both Equinox and Lifetime. I was at Equinox for a long time.
Oh my gosh,
many months, and they never get to a capacity. They limit their memberships. It's just
Xavier,
a different
where have you been?
Style of fitness.
Sleeping in the car?
But Export, as far as the middle range gym goes, Export was by far the best gym. Hands down, no questions asked. LA Fitness bought them out. Some of you know that my mother used to be the vice president at Export for purchasing, or I don't know what she was doing there, but she was there for like a long time, like 15. I don't know.
That's not what you said last time.
I don't know if it
get better Wi-Fi.
Anyways, anytime I start saying something that makes everyone guilty who's actually guilty, they start buffering. So my mother worked at Export for a long time as the vice president of, I believe, the purchasing department. It went under and got purchased by LA Fitness, supposedly, and they don't have overnight hours. It sucks. I always went during the overnight hours. So anyways, I'm going to be speaking it more in detail about the things that they've already done to me in the 12-part series. But right now, I just wanted to make mention of the fact that they are actually doing a literal replay of all of the abusive things that they've done to me. So I'd be really grateful if the feds or local law enforcement or anyone with a dick and balls between their legs rather than a fucking vagina could man the fuck up and say something about the fact that I've already lived through all of this. That would be fantastic. Thank you so much in advance, because I walk in the gym and sure enough, I go to start changing, putting my stuff away. Giving Black Friday, and I'm doing episode 2 of 12.
Girls, park somewhere better. Go inside the apartment.
The 12-part series explaining at surface level the major things that I have overcome in this life and existence, so that I can create a documentary, not a docuseries, a documentary, a 1.5 hour documentary with really engaging clips of the things I've been through, because a photo tells 1,000 words, as we all know, and a movie tells even more words than that. I'm on my way to the gym right now. This is part 2 of 12. And so I'm just going to get right into it. I'd like to keep these under 30 minutes each, and there's a lot to cover. So the last time we spoke in part 1, I kind of summarized I didn't really speak a lot about my childhood, other than to say my sister and I grew up in this structured setting of
I feel like
mom and dad in the same household until I was about 12 years old, married. Both of them working full time, living in suburban Elmhurst, middle class neighborhood. At 5 years old, a car crashed into my house, all 4 tires. We had to get a new house, and we moved from
all 4
where
tires.
I lived
What?
to my new house. And I still went to kindergarten that day, and that's kind of been the vibe overall for my family. Like in my household, we didn't miss school. We didn't not go to work. We handled our responsibilities regardless of what kind of trauma was going on around me. And as an adult, I've not had that same approach. As an adult, if I have noticed that my children feel ill or don't want to be at school or there's something going on, I've always been very, sensitive to that, and for myself as well. But we left off yesterday discussing how I went from this very structured setting as a child into this also very structured but disturbed setting of like criminals and people who have severe like psychological disorders that
Heather,
were pulling
like
out their hair by the handful, bleeding
okay,
from
I don't
the
want to talk
scalp,
about that. Shh,
cutting themselves, kind of carving into themselves and things of that nature. At 17 years old, I aged out of that, and I explained that I was married to the children's father. Louis and Viviana's father is Mexican, and we were together and married for, I want to say, 6 years, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. And then the same with Orlando, who is Alexis's father. And then I met Dylan. And Dylan is my kind of person co-host, who was in the reality show with me. And we were in a committed relationship. We called it a marriage. He proposed to me. So all of this is part of 2 of 12. So at this point, I'm kind of just going to summarize what our relationship and what life was like until he got sentenced and went to prison. So we left off that I was working in healthcare as an office manager at an eye doctor, and I accepted a job on Saturday and Sunday as a bottle service girl because my kids were with their father. I was newly divorced from Alexis's father. I was single, and I had never been alone in my house before. I had never been, just in the house on a Saturday or Sunday with no children and a husband there. I had never, ever had like the club scene on my resume. I had never been to bar. I had never gone out drinking with friends. The only time I had ever drank in public was like for a birthday party. If I went out for a birthday party, I had not socially experienced life. Maybe once or twice. I think I went to Bon V for my little sister's birthday, and then I think I went to the same club, Bon V, with this girl named Rebecca.
Gosh, talk about something else.
When I was having a fight with the kid's father. But literally that's it. Like I was not a person who was, going out. So I'm working bottle service, and I'm also managing this eye doctor's office. And this is going on for like 6 weeks. And I hire my little sister's best friend, April, at the time, to work with me in this eye doctor. And it was me, April, and this guy named Tim, and then the doctors. And they always say that you should not hire friends or family, but I felt like I could count on April. And I was never a one-track minded person. I was in the gym prepping to compete for the NPC, which is the amateur bodybuilding competition. I had a prep coach named Christian McCoy and a personal trainer named Manny. And that was at Export Portage Park, Central and Irving. That was my home gym. And I got up literally at 5 a.m. every day and go to this gym and go to my 1-hour workout with my trainer, do 45 minutes of stairs after I was done with my trainer. Back in the evening for round 2, I ate my 5 meals from my 6-pack bag that I carried around with me everywhere, my cold chicken breast with my 1 cup of spinach and 3 tomatoes, and like this very customized, repetitive, redundant diet that Christian McCoy had made for me. And it was working. I mean, I was toning up. I was building muscle. I was, massing myself in the areas where I wanted to add mass. I was losing myself in the areas that I wanted to be gone. And I was just building a beautiful body to go along with this mind that I was in the process of creating. I felt a new life. I felt hope and motivation for a way that was going to release me from a 9 to 5 schedule. And I felt like it was going to be possible for me to work 3 days a week and earn the same or more than I was making working full time. Just with a fitness career and getting sponsors and, competing and taking clients and becoming a trainer myself and then doing bottle service on the weekends. Well, there's a huge conflict of interest. You cannot work in bottle service and train to compete. I don't care what anyone tells you. I don't care if someone claims they've been successful doing it, they're lying, they're on drugs. You just can't do it. It's impossible. Number one, in every bottle service capacity that I have witnessed or experienced or spoken with a woman who works there, they drink. There is a 0 alcohol tolerance when you're in a prep. You cannot drink. You cannot be working bottle service and turn down drinks. You just can't do it. Your boss will let you go. I promise you. There is no nightclub capacity where the manager is going to say, this guy wants to buy a $600 bottle in a section, but only if you'll go and be his bottle service person. I'm going to say no because you don't want to do it, right? Like, they're not going to say that. They're going to say, get out and let me bring in a woman who will do it. That's the way that it has always worked. So, they taught us little tricks about, when you're starting to get too drunk, pretending that you're drinking, then spitting it out like
when you're
low
starting
key and
to
all
get
this
too
stuff.
drunk, you
But that
shouldn't be
shit only works
drinking in
for
the
so
first
long.
place.
And you can only go undetected doing that for so long. And it's just it's impossible to do. The schedule, you're not getting off work doing bottle service until 4 a.m, literally. To then go home or go to the gym, meet with a trainer, exercise, and then go home. It just doesn't work. Meal prep, all of that. Bodybuilding is a huge commitment. That's why in the gym right now, I'm not saying that I'm going to enter a prep or start a training. I really have time to find a way to make it to work and the gym. And I'm spreading myself very, very thin, and my children are with their father right now. They were with me at that time. So it was just, I was working dynamically. I was working 2 jobs, plus I was having 2-a-days at the gym, plus I was being a mother to my children. Dynamic.
Was that Xavier or Xavier inside?
I go to work one day and I was at this location where it was a Korean karaoke bar, and you got paid a flat $50 just for showing up. And if you got chosen, you got a $200 fee. What do I mean by chosen? I'll explain in a minute.
Oh my gosh,
if
I
you
think
got
we fucking figured
chosen
it
to
out.
host a party, you got a flat $200 fee and then a tip out from whoever chooses you.
Weirdo. Still can't
So I would
stand
leave
you.
there with between $400 and $600 a night easily, and do nothing for it other than party and drink and dance and be fun.
Dance.
So what do I mean by chosen? They choose all the girls that show up for the night, and you stand in a line.
You've told us.
So you have to doll up. You have to have your hair nice. You have to have your makeup nice. You have to have on a cute outfit.
Escort.
And you have to, be there dressed to impress, and then you stand in a line. Mind you, I have no plastic surgery. I'm natural.
Oh my
100%
gosh.
natural.
No, she did not.
The only thing I've ever had are injections, Botox, and Junior. To compete with women, babe, give me my C4, please. To compete with the women I was competing with, these women were built from the ground up. These are skinny, Hispanic women and Asian women, most of them, and probably 4 Americans who have a little boy body that someone invested $40,000 into rebuilding for them.
Why are you talking
That's what I'm competing against. These women have been built from the fucking ground up, and I'm just a regular lady, I was so intimidated by these women. Thanks, babe. Oh yes, they have apricot strawberry back. That's my favorite. But I kept showing up, and I was proud of myself for it, because I had worked as a promotional model before at car shows and stuff, but I had never been exposed in that regard or put myself out there in that regard. And I think that it was good for me, to do that. But everything, in what's that moderation? You know, I got a little taste of making $600 in a few hours of just getting drunk and having fun. And now I was like desperate. Like, I have 3 children. Now I have 4. But at the time in my mind, it's like, I have 3 kids. And I can make $600 3 nights a week.
I
That's
know, I gotta
$1,800
do
a week.
something while I
Or
watch
I can
this.
keep working as an office manager and make $500 for the entire week after taxes and insurance. I can't fucking live like that. You know, that's my whole rent. And then, you know, for 2 weeks, I'm doing nothing. 3 weeks, I'm doing nothing but paying rent. Like, I can't live like that. Kids need stuff. So I just saw this huge
Kids need
opportunity for
stuff.
me to do like that again and make a lot of money doing it. And that was when I met those 4 or 5 American girls that were working with me that were also natural. They kind of introduced me to that group, the Lurkers. And I'll never forget the first night I met them. That was like, you know, Dylan's friend group. I thought that they were the coolest people ever. Like, I thought that they were fucking awesome. They were movie producers. They were music people. They had multiple studios, music studios. They had multiple production studios where they would shoot music videos, TV, movies. What are those things called when you're making like a pitch for a movie plot? A trailer, you know, to try to get investors and shit like that. And I just thought it was the coolest fucking group I had ever met. They were nice to me. I didn't ask them for anything. I was not a drug user. I had never tried a drug in my life.
I think this is only 2.
You know, that
this
wasn't
is fucking sucky crazy, man.
pot. You know, like, I was not about that life.
What's wrong,
Orlando and I
Xavier?
had tried mushrooms actually with Rizzo and Looney.
He has to listen
That's
to
Alexis's
about like
father.
her and that.
But like
her
on some
exes.
teenager shit, like watching the Discovery Channel, like
X, are you okay?
Planet Earth while
Look,
we
he's
each
like, what the
like
fuck,
have a cap
bitch?
of
You
mushrooms,
stupid.
you know, like in my living room. Like, that was my experience with drugs. We weren't regular drinkers. We tried, you know, the mushrooms once, and this group was partying. Like, whatever you wanted, they already had it. And they were not stingy with it at all. Like, they were just not stingy. They were like,
Why are we talking so much about drugs?
there was nothing they had that they didn't offer to me, ever. And I remember, like, 2 weeks after I met them, and mind you, I never went out. Me going out was going to work.
Oh my gosh,
They
yes,
never
you
went out,
did.
ever. So they would start calling me and texting me, let's go out here, let's do this. Do you want a job in promotions? I can pay you $5 to $10 a head if you can get them to this afters. So now I'm like, damn, these people are literally the best people that God ever made. Like, these are fucking amazing people. Like, the weekends my kids are with their fathers. I'm depressed and sad and alone. I just met this group of people that would invite me to their parties, give me free drugs and alcohol, and pay me to, you know, promote all of this shit. Like, this is fantastic.
To
Like,
be
who would
on
say no to
drugs
this?
and alcohol, that's fantastic.
So I tried doing the office manager thing and the promotion, bottle service, and all of it. I quit the gym within 3 weeks. I quit my job as an office manager within a month. I would show up to work still buzzed and high from like the weekend, because I would finish working bottle service Sunday at like 3 a.m. and then Monday I would be back at work at like 11 a.m. So it was just not enough time, you know, in between to like get myself back together. And I tried it at a chiropractor's office. I tried it at a podiatry office, and I tried it at an ophthalmology office. And it was just not a balance I could keep. But what are you going to do? Are you going to leave the 3 days a week for $1,800? Or are you going to leave the 5 days a week for $500? You know, and hindsight is always 20/20. So once you realize that the lifestyle I want is not sustainable by just working 2 days a week, doing drugs and partying.
Dumbass.
I want to be in the gym every day. I want to be with my kids. I want to do this and that. Can I go to a party 2 days a week? For sure I can. But I can't go to a party and get fucked up and erase all of my gains in the gym and destroy my, you know, mindset and deplete my serotonin levels and wake up on Monday sad, moody, depressed, you know, in what's that word when people can't make you feel better? Inconsolably, like crying. And that's how I was. Like, I would go from being totally happy and euphoric feeling, partying and being around all these people, to like literally being in like the deepest, darkest depression you could imagine come Monday. And then I would be useless in my regular job. So I told my boss, like, I have a problem like with partying, and I am going to keep taking these 3-day parties. I cannot, work with you guys for 5 days a week and be sober.
There goes
and
X.
keep this $1,800 a week coming in, and I
Stop
need
showing
that
your
money.
ass.
And I'm sorry, but like I can't keep working here. And it was about 2 weeks after that I met Dylan. So I was 100% all into the industry. I had left my 9-to-5 job. I was completely like ready to go. I was doing promotions for this group called, what were they called? Not Mob Deep, Sunset Deep. And Bobby Brown's daughter was like one of the owners or founders of this group. Like she was like, maybe it wasn't Bobby Brown.
Bitch,
I think it was Bobby Brown.
Stop talking.
It was somebody very famous and like well respected in the industry, and I met her and her husband and their daughter, and they were the owners of this label. And
you just
they
trying
were
to say you met Bobby
these
Brown?
Parties where
they went to Dunkin'.
goes, but they're charging people $20 to $40 at the door, and these people are showing up for it. And of that 20 to 40, they're giving me 10 ahead. So my life became doing these bottle service parties and then going out in River North any and everywhere. And that's how I ended up getting into promotions in a more formal way. I would go to River North everywhere. I would start at like Electric, it was Shea at the time. I would go to Shea, Time, Sound Bar, Spy Bar. Of course, I would never get charged a cover. They knew I was working in promotions. And I would start promoting this shit on my Facebook, promoting this shit on my Insta, promoting this shit in person. We would go to the library and print out these little pamphlets that said the address and the time, nothing about a cover, just the address and a time. We would create this aura of exclusivity, of secrecy. It was not a fucking secret. If these people could have gotten on the rooftops and screamed about it, they would have. The more the merrier, the better money, the better time. So they were like truly like trying to get a lot of people to show. And I would literally like tap into my psychology, sales background, and I would be like, how can I fucking get these? The better money, the better time. So they were like truly like trying to get a lot of people to show. And I would literally like tap into my psychology, sales background, and I would be like, how can I fucking get these people here? I'm going to create the aura of exclusivity. I'm going to create the aura of secrecy. So I would go and tell these people, like,
yeah, she's 38. She's about to be 39.
It would be real hot, looking in my like little tube top and like mini skirt, long blonde hair, big booty, flat tummy, abs. And I would just like go into every club and like hand them this like really low key piece of paper and be like, yo, there's an afters. It's super exclusive. If you don't have the password and this paper, they won't let you in. Meet me there. Say Coco at the door. Ask for Coco at the door. So I would say this to probably about 1,000 people a night. And of that 1,000, I would say probably anywhere from like 50 to 300 would show up just for me, just with my name. And these parties would turn into 2-3 day parties in warehouses where people were coming and going, and they would charge them all like $20 to $50, even $100 sometimes at the door. If there were a lot of people in the party and not a lot of space, you could supply and demand. You know what I mean? So I walked out of those parties with like $300 to $400 cash on a bad night, working promotions from there. And that's not something that's sustainable. They do that for a few weeks and then those parties go undercover for months because otherwise, whatever. So, or they move the venue and it's a different promotions team after that. So, and then there were other ones. I promoted at the Dragon Room. I promoted at Sunset Deep, all of their venues. I promoted at Johnny Blues. I promoted at all these places, but you would never really find me there partying. I would go, get paid, and go home. That was what I was about, getting money and going home. After that, so I did that for about, I would say 2 months. And that's when I met Lambo from Lambo Promotions. Lambo Promotions was more of a kind of like more of a mainstream promotions company. And what I mean by that is they were promoting for the nightclubs that have, advertisements openly, that aren't, allowing open drug use and partying, that are looking the other way. I mean, it still goes on, but they're not like encouraging it. There aren't like tables where you can go throw down $5 or $10 for a puff of nitrous oxide and shit like that. So
Whoa,
it
why
was
are
just
you
a
bringing that
different
up?
environment
That's suspicious.
in the clubs working with Lambo. And I felt like that was what I needed at the time, because I'm always thinking about where I'm going from here with this, right? If I'm turning into a promoter, what comes next? You can't be a promoter for everywhere for your whole life.
For everywhere.
Or you can maybe,
Oh,
but
she's
not a
finally
nightclub
fucking
promoter.
driving.
I've never seen a 60, 70-year-old person promoting parties to 20-year-olds. You know, can it be done? Maybe. Who knows?
Yep.
Should it be done? Hey, who knows? And that's another who knows. But I just didn't see it for myself. I saw for myself, I'm going to network, I'm going to build my following. And that's what I did. I was not working in sexy content at that time, and I had 200 followers on Instagram. I grew that just through promotion, so about 30,000 followers in about 4 months. And that was all organic, no Hootsuite, no paying for followers. That was face to face. Hi, I'm Heather Coco. My friends call me Coco. Here, come to this party, add me on the gram. And I grew that shit by myself. And then I'm in this space where I'm like, holy shit, you guys. My kids are with their fathers on the weekends. I couldn't possibly be spending my time doing anything better than making money. I'm in shape. I'm happy. I'm healthy. I see a new career path for myself in events, event planning, entertainment. I'm going to let go of healthcare, and I'm going to put all my ducks in this basket. Eggs in this basket? Yeah. Eggs. I'm going to put all my eggs in this basket, you know, and I fucking loved it.
Good thing Xavier's here, huh?
But
even though he's
you're on a balance beam. You're on a balance beam, and it only gets worse from there. You go from being on a balance beam to being on a balance beam blindfolded, to being on a balance beam blindfolded, drunk and high, to being on a tightrope, to being on a tightrope blindfolded. And it just gets more and more difficult to mitigate everything. You've got law enforcement. You've got, is this legal or illegal? You've got SEC. You've got taxes. You've got everyone wants a piece. You've got haters. You've got, you know, there's just so much in that environment. When you start rising up like that, you look happy all the time. You've got money coming in. You're spending. You're taking your kids places that you've never taken them. I would go and get a suite at the Virgin for the weekend and hire a babysitter to come with me so that I could go out and promote or party or date. For money, work is what I called it, while my kids, you know, lived in a 5-star hotel for the weekend. I would go and get a suite at the Virgin for the weekend and hire a babysitter to come with me so that I could go out and promote or party or date. For money, work is what I called it, while my kids, you know, lived in a 5-star hotel for the weekend.
That's sad.
I
so they went with mommy on the weekend.
Wanted that lifestyle for my family and my children because I suffered my entire life. And when I say I suffered my entire life, I mean I really fucking suffered. Being abandoned from age 14 to 18 and then being thrown into the world at 18 with no idea of how to be okay is very, very difficult. And I proceeded to make the best of a traumatized state of mind. But do you think it was easy for my ex-husbands? Let's give a round of applause to Louis, Orlando, and even Xavier. I mean, Dylan can get a little bit of it, but not really. I am fucked up. Like, I'm fucked up. If Xavier walks away for too long and too far and I don't know where he is, everyone in the entire city of Chicago knows because I'm laying on my horn. I'm screaming his name repeatedly.
I could see that. My
exes went through almost the same thing. I was abandoned at 14 years old. I get really fucking scared. Yeah. I get fucking really scared. I am difficult to work with and difficult to love.
I hear you.
But I'm also dynamic. And as difficult as it is, I'm also as amazing, equally as amazing. Thanks, babe.
Aww.
So, and as difficult as it is, I'm also as amazing, equally as amazing. Thanks, babe.
I don't know what he said, but I'm sure it was something sweet.
Thanks, babe. So, you know,
so toxic.
It's very complex. I would be so happy, and then something would trigger me. And I would be like the best person to be around. Everyone would be so happy to like be around with me, to work with me, and like to have me around them.
Oh gosh.
And then something would trigger me, and I would just be inconsolable, crying, scared.
Like she's sick.
embarrassed, so, and everyone always says, well, you need to treat that. That's not anyone else's like shit to carry. That's yours. You don't think that I've been trying to treat, you don't, like, what the fuck does that, what's the treatment? Like, this isn't surgery. I'm not going to go get a fracture. It's not a fracture, like a fractured bone where you could just go get it set and wait and it heals and you're good. Like, this is forever. Like, the majority of my life, I have been suffering from tremendous trauma. Have you ever woken up on your first day of kindergarten and had an actual vehicle about to explode in your living room, but you still go to school that day? I have, so I've been living since I was a baby in this heightened state of anxiety and fear. And it's not paranoia. Paranoia would be someone who'd never been through any of that, having an unrealistic fear that a car is going to crash into their home. That's paranoia. Paranoia is not what I have at all. What I have is results-driven, experience-based, healthy, respectful fear for the things that have gone on around me and potentially could go on again. Now, when I started working with Lambo, and Lewis and Orlando did a really great job, and I don't think that they get any credit at all. I think that they get laid into because, there were times when we would come to blows with each other, not punching, but like they would try to restrain me. A lot of people have tried to restrain me, and it freaks me out way more than it being helpful. Like, it's just not a good situation. Like, if I'm crying and pacing back and forth, just let me do that. Don't grab me and restrain me. I just don't do that, and they would do that and I would fucking freak the fuck out. And who do they call? Who do they ask for help? You don't put someone that you love in a facility because if they're triggered once a month, they start crying and are inconsolable for the day. No one wants to deal with that. And when you love someone, that it is what it is. This is who I am. This is what I have right now.
Yeah.
So I'm doing, and my whole life I've been doing my best to not let it get in the way, but it is what it is. It's like you live with it, and you do your best. So it's just never been about, being a drug addict or being a party person. It's always 1000% of the time been about getting money, and the money that I need, it releases me from the oppression that they're permitted to put me through in the absence of that money. When I have the money, no one can fuck with me. I can hire people to protect me. That exposure is no longer an issue. Having the money is having not just an iron vest in the environment of an X-ray. It's like walking into an X-ray with a fucking lead, portable house around you. That's the difference. The damage that you suffer going and having an X-ray unprotected, like that you don't even think about that when you have the money, because when you have the money, you're living in a lead house in that metaphor. So that was 100% of my focus. And of course it was trauma-based, and it still is trauma-based. Every fucking day I'm going. I constantly live in this mental state of panic. Always, unless there are very few exceptions, but I'm for the most part, that's where I'm at, the majority of the time. If you see me driving DoorDash, it's, I have to hurry. I have to get to the next one. If you see me driving Uber, it's, I have to drive careful so that they can't do this, so that my mind is just always in this state of, don't get triggered. Don't let them see that you're panicking, even though you actually are. And some of the most successful people are motivated, in that regard. So it doesn't make me feel like life is over for me, and it never has. If anything, it makes me feel like people are in trouble with me. They're in trouble with me because they're never going to stop me, ever, unless they kill me, and even then my story will live on. So I'm working promotions with Lambo, and I fucking fell in love again, with the industry, with Lambo, it was me, Lambo and I never had a romantic relationship. I felt like he was like a brother to me. It was me, Lambo, London, Black, Baco. Do you guys remember Baco? He reminds me of Meek Mills. Baco Sullivan. It was the five of us. And then Lambo got married to Jessica Cho. And she would kind of, be in and out of it, but mostly it was like his baby, like not hers. And she was cool too. And we would host these parties. I remember the first event that I planned with Lambo was Rook Roca's 31st birthday party, a Mardi Gras themed event hosted at Time Chicago, which is now Liquor Box. After working for about a month in promotions, I learned not only how to leverage social media for business and money, but also how to digitally create content, how to market online, how to sell online, how to create, establish, and nourish relationships online, how to write websites, build websites, how to, kind of do any and everything that you could possibly do with social media. I was no longer using social media the way I had when I had 200 followers to say, oh, look, I took the kids to the dentist today and they all got new toothbrushes. Or, oh, look, Vivi started ballet. Or, oh, look, Bebe was student of the week. I kind of stopped documenting these little proud moments that my kid had, because that would be like for my intimate family. And I used it only for business. Social media was no longer a tool or a strategy for communicating with family. It was 1000% about making money, marketing, and being my voice. And all of that was going on. And then I met Dylan. So Dylan became like a big influence of mine when I had just left healthcare. Now, I started not making a lot of money in promotions, and I knew that I could not be doing these 3-day party promotions. They were too risky. I was afraid they were going to get caught by the police. I was afraid I was going to be, implicated in anything like that. And if a rave gets shut down and your name is on the flyer, I don't know what that means. I don't know if you get fucked over for that or what. And I didn't want to find out. So after about 3 months of doing those kinds of promotions, I just went 1000% legit with it. And this was my lineup. My lineup personally for Lambo was Paris Club. That was our stop. From Paris to Electric Hotel. From Electric Hotel to Time. And Time was mine. None of my other team took Time. Time was mine, and I fucking killed it for Time. We were always packed at Time. And then from Time to the late night spot, which was Cuvée. Those were my 4 locations. We went there every single night. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. That's where we went. That's where we were promoting. That was my lineup. And I fucking killed it. And I loved it. After about 2 months, I started realizing that it was not sustainable. Winter comes. People don't go out some months. Some months are, really, really slow. I started, of course, in May. So I had this really successful summer. And then it was starting to get cold outside. And I'm talking to Dylan and, trying to figure out what to do next with my life. So that was maybe like 6 to 8 weeks of my life. I decide that I'm going to try to get back into healthcare. Dylan agreed that it was in my best interest. There were several other influences during that time that did not want me working in promotions, that did not want me going to the nightclub, that they told me from day one. Billy Med was one of them. Scully was one of them. There were just several, Mike Lushik was one of them. There were just several larger promoters that had been in the game for a long time that came directly up to me and told me, you are not going to be okay in this environment. You were not made for this. You do not have, not what it takes, but like you are going to get taken advantage of if you stay here. Like you need to go back to what you were doing or find something else or take these lessons and, take them elsewhere. But you are going to end up either addicted to drugs, or bankrupt and having all these people mooch off you. And both of those things kind of happened. There was a 3-week period when I think I dollied maybe 18 out of 24 days. in that period. And I remember going up to Sean Denham and telling him Sean Denham is a main staple in the nightlife industry in Chicago and has been for decades. I remember going up to Sean Denham and telling him, who is a very good friend of mine, and telling him, you know, I need help. Like, I've never done a drug before 2 months ago, and now out of 24 days, I've taken Molly 18 of them that I know of, you know, and we were also around this peer group that was putting Molly, DMT, whatever the fuck they had, ketamine, whatever they had in everything. I mean, if you walked into a room and poured yourself something to drink, there was a 50-50 chance that it would have who knows what in it. Party favors is what they called it. Special drink is what they called it. And it was just to the point where rockstar lifestyle doesn't even begin to explain it. I mean, rock stars, you know, go on stage and get paid. We were all like living in the underground, you know, going to these underground locations and staying days at a time.
So long.
When prior to that, I was fucking working as an administrator for rheumatology and endocrinology. I'd never tried a drug in my life 3 months ago. So it was just such a huge contrast. So difficult for me to make work. I could not make it work. And then the trauma started.
Oh my gosh.
So
now you're starting about trauma.
Random things would start to set me off. I would start crying and I would not be able to stop. And mix that with, you know, not good sleep. It's just a fucking mess. Like, it's not good. Do you need sleep? And this is why, if you guys have been a part of any of my campaigns, after everything happened with the show and they did me so bogus, the whole intention with the show was positive. It was supposed to be like a public service announcement to hold people's hand and say, you can fuck up at life and you can be okay and rebuild and you can be better than ever. They did not want to exploit that part of things because they didn't want people to feel justified or like going to prison was cool, is my opinion. But they basically kind of destroyed, you know, my ability to see clearly. And what I mean by that is I started getting extorted by an officer to nothing about promotions, actually completely unrelated. It was about fraud. About a week after I started talking to Dylan. So let me back up. I'm working in promotions and there's this girl, everyone calls her Tiny. When I first saw her, I'm not a lesbian and I don't really find myself physically attracted to women, but I thought that she was the most beautiful woman I had ever met in my entire life. If I was going to be a lesbian, I would definitely be attracted to Hispanic women. I love everything about them. And it would definitely, you know, that's the way that it would go.
Xavier's like, she okay, noted.
Always smelling good, always looking good, had a humongous, big, fake booty, big, huge, fake boobs. I wanted plastic surgery. I was natural, 100% natural. And everyone always said I had like a big round butt and that I had a good, you know, shape. But with her, it was like, wow, like it was just very exaggerated and just like Betty Boop, you know, is what she reminded me of, Hispanic Betty Boop. So I kind of fell in love with her in a platonic way, if that makes sense. I fell in love with her. She's a honeypot, you know, her entire everything was attractive to me. The way she smelled, the way she spoke to me, the way she opened doors for me. And I'm not talking about physically opened the door and let me into a place. She brought me around men who lived in mansions. She introduced me to this guy named Ben, who lived in a mini mansion on Superior Street at the time, who gave me a Louis Vuitton scarf as a gift the first night that I met him. What?
Like jelly.
I had never even touched a fabric that was labeled with Louis Vuitton before in my entire life. And here this guy gave me a Louis Vuitton scarf, and she's the one who introduced me to him. And I just felt like I love her and everything about her.
That is so
I didn't even know she knew Dylan. I had no idea, none at all whatsoever. I had met Dylan one time at a party in Pilsen that someone else brought me to. I think it was Arnett or Fluid or Caddy or someone like that. And they had brought me there for a party, and we spent probably like 4 hours there. And then I left, and my entire experience with Dylan during that time was I went in to use the restroom. It was just one single restroom. He was in the shower and he opened the curtain, like, what the fuck, you know? And I was like, please close the curtain, you know? And like, I'm trying to go potty. And that was our intent. Probably said a couple other words to each other, and that's it. And that was my entire experience with Dylan. I had no idea who he was other than that. But I didn't think he was that attractive. I didn't know that he was on drugs or addicted to drugs or, you know, bad behavior. I thought that he also worked as a promotional model, and that's how he made his money, and that his mom was rich and that he had generational wealth. And that was what I thought of him. So Tiny and I started hanging out every day. And while I was working in promotions, she would be like my wingman. We would go to the club every single day together. Or we would just be at our own houses individually, you know, not going out. If we were going out, we were going out together. And she was dating this guy named Abe. And he was a Habibi, Arabic guy, owned a couple of stores in the south suburbs. A total fucking sweetheart. Just one of the sweetest guys ever. Didn't drink, didn't smoke pot, didn't do drugs, did nothing. Devout Muslim. And he was kind of, you know, tricking off and showing out with a lot of money, getting different, very, very expensive cars and, you know, taking us everywhere and paying for everything. And it was just a total rock star lifestyle, you know, for those several weeks. Well, one day, Tiny starts telling me about these moves, you know, that they're doing. And what she means by moves are like parties that they're setting up, funding for these parties. She had a move with Ben and his friend group that they were investing in some sunglasses line, and they were going to be selling the sunglasses, luxury sunglasses, at a very expensive price point. And we would go over there sometimes so that they could look at prototypes and decide on, you know, frames, and if they wanted that frame or not at all. And so
Okay, how to get me
Tiny's opening my eyes to the business world, to networking, to all of the opportunity that exists in the nightlife. And I'm thinking, fuck healthcare. Look at everything I'm doing here. I had only ever interacted with 9-to-5 workers before. My mom was she was a salaried worker, but I didn't know anyone who owned their own business or, you know, was politicking in this way. And Ben and his friend group were very attractive to me. I found them to be very, very attractive. And I don't mean that in a physical sense, like, oh, they're hot. I mean it like, these people know how to live. And if I, you know, stay friends with these people, if he's gifting me a Louis Vuitton scarf the first night that I met him, what is he going to give me in a year? You know, what is he going to teach me over the course of that year? And the biggest thing about Ben was that he treated his dog like it was his like best friend or his son. Wow. And I thought that was so adorable. I don't know what really made me like so turned.
Look, so she's about to say so turned on. Ew. Stop talking about all these people, especially males, like in front of Xavier. Like, I don't really care for y'all, but it's just like so disrespectful, dude.
The biggest thing about Ben was that he treated his dog like it was his like best friend or his son. And I thought that was so adorable. I don't know what really made me like so turned on by people who treat their friends and family so nicely. I mean, crazy that I would think it's good to have people around you that cherish you and treat you like you're amazing rather than assholes that blame you for stuff and abandon you. But
okay, Heather.
You know, and I thought that the suffering in my life was over. And that was the first time I ever thought that the suffering in my life was over, was with Tiny and Ben. And I hadn't even been introduced to Dylan yet. That relationship that Tiny and Ben had was there, and then it was gone. It was like she completely refocused on Abe. Her and Abe would go to like dinners like once a month.
We don't need to know about Tiny and
his friend group, but not like consistently how they were before. And the partying around the group was like becoming more exclusive. People were not bringing like phones in. They wanted us at the beginning to like randomly recruit women to bring to these parties. At the end of that, it was getting like very paranoid feeling, and like they were maybe partying too. It was just getting very paranoid feeling. Like nothing was going on in front of me. I couldn't see anything going on, but I could feel, you know, as fuck. Like people would just be very uncomfortable. So that's when Tiny introduced me to Dylan. And she basically got arrested one weekend. We were not hanging out that weekend, and I did not know she got arrested. And she called me and said that she needed me to go with her to Maywood to pick up her belongings. And I'm like, Maywood to pick up your belongings? What do you mean? And she's like, yeah, well, you know, we got arrested this weekend, me and Dylan. And I'm like, Dylan, oh God, that guy, like, why are you hanging out with that guy? You know, like, I was just not for it. Like,
oh my gosh, that's not what you said.
And I didn't like how everyone was like throwing themselves at him. Like, these women were so obsessed with him, and it was just like, ugh. There's never I want to be with a person who treats me like the center of their world. There's nothing attractive, in my opinion, about a man who gives the same amount of attention to me, his lover, his wife, his best friend, that he gives to any other woman that walks up. I like exclusivity. I value exclusivity. I want my man to be respectful and kind to all people, women or men, but I don't want my man to treat every fucking other person like they're the same as me. I want to be up here, and all those people can be right here. You know, it's fine. Treat everyone with love and kindness and respect down here, but I want to clearly be up here. And I want to do the same for my husband. Right? I want to treat some random guy at a party the same way that I treat Xavier. Right? So that's always been how I am. And I don't know. It was not like that. That was not the culture among these people. So she tells me basically about this case that she caught, and that she needs me to remain in communication with Dylan for her because she's tied to this case with him. She can't have any direct communication, and she's paying $40,000 for a lawyer to get off these federal charges. Okay. And she wants to know what's going on with his side of the case. So as a good friend, you know, of course I say, yes, I'll do it. So I'm talking to this guy every day. Zero romantic interest, none whatsoever. And I'm kind of freaking out because at this point, I'm not working in promotions other than Friday and Saturday. I have no regular job. Maybe I was bartending or something like that. And I'm trying to figure out a way to turn my businesses that I'm working, which was staffing and hosting promotional and trade show modeling gigs,
ratted out
with a regular, you know, steady paycheck. You could work 3 trade show modeling gigs that are 3 days, 12 hours each, and make $2,000 for that one show. And then you could have 3 months where you don't get a single show. So I was just learning about all of these endeavors and businesses and what I could do. And I was trying to navigate as a single mother, a young woman, fresh in business, just learning about these things, how to do it, you know, and how to do it well. And so I'm talking to Dylan for Tiny, and Dylan and I just kept on growing closer and closer and closer and closer. For the first 3 months of my conversing with Dylan, we spoke about 4 hours a day, every single day on the phone. He told me his entire life story. He went to school at New Trier, which is in Glenview. His parents had money growing up. He got inaccurately blamed for involvement in some sort of cases that he wasn't responsible for. And because his family had money, was his belief, he was blamed for these things and incarcerated. Bullshit. If you incarcerate a child of a poor family, your chances of getting bond money, lawyer money, court fee money is very little. You won't get any money. If you incarcerate a child to a family that has money, now all of a sudden the court system has revenue. So he opened my eyes to a lot of that. And I started looking at my own childhood and thinking, you know, there were just a lot of similarities. And I felt as though my family was targeted by DuPage County, Cook County, or whatever county we were in to pay a lot of money. Wow. And I mean, I told you guys yesterday, my father was incarcerated for a short time for not being able to pay child support. he had no money. He was suffering. And DuPage County locked him in a work release program and made this man in winter walk around with nothing other than the flannel on his back and some steel toe boots, no cell phone, no way for these employers to communicate with him, just walk around and found a job. He ended up getting a job bussing tables at one of these restaurants in the suburbs. And then my grandmother or someone finally paid his purge and he was able to get out of there. But I mean, it was just a really difficult, time. And the situation was so backwards. You don't imprison someone because they don't have money. Like, that's just so backwards in my opinion. But the things Dylan was telling me, they were matching up to and kind of explaining a lot of the things that I had already been through and suffered through. And I felt accepted and understood. I shared with him, the Jamaica thing and a lot of the other things that I had been through, some of the other assaults, both sexual and regular. And I felt safe. And I felt protected. And there were people who had harmed me in the industry, and he would get on the phone with them, and that would be the last I ever heard of them. His power and his ability to control this group, whether they realized they were being controlled by him or not, to Satan, to God, to whoever you believe in, he was the boss. And from prison, he could very easily say, get out of Heather's house, and would go. But me being there in the house with them face to face, asking them nicely 30 times in a 3-day period to go, I'd have luck. He would get on the phone in 5 to 30 seconds and they'd be packing their shit and leaving. And that was very attractive to me. I was very attracted to that. I felt very safe. I felt very protected. I felt very prioritized. I felt like a baby.
She's like, oh my gosh,
so in someone's arms.
A baby in someone's arms?
Like that's how I felt. From there, the conversation started going to, so the first part was establishing a common ground. He would commonly tell me, you and I, Heather, we're not like these people.
Oh my
These lurkers, these people that do drugs all day and party. We're not like them. We have educations.
Oh my gosh.
We have professional backgrounds. We have family members that are respected with careers, and his mother sold seats on the Board of Trade. My stepfather was a stockbroker on the Board of Trade. His father was a musician. My father was and is a musician, and had played in bands for years and performed live. And his father is a guitarist. My father is a drummer. So there were just, his mother is professional. My mother was a CFO for Bally Total Fitness and then Export. So it was just like, I felt like I was kind of almost looking in a mirror. We were both super duper obsessed with the gym. He was working out there every day. I was back into fitness out here because I wasn't drinking anymore. I wasn't drugging. I was just that drugging. 6-week period of working in promotions was when I was experimenting with drugs and alcohol. Prior to that, no history of it. After that, no history of it. So it was just in that environment, and it's always been that way. There's never been a time where I felt like anything like that was a problem for me at all, except for during that time I was working in that environment. So I feel like the beginning stages of the grooming, the love bombing phase, where you are better than everyone else, you are the best thing ever, and this is all the narcissistic cycle of abuse that you can easily Google about this or YouTube about this, and it spells everything out for you right then and there. And I'm on the back end of this relationship, I'm reading these things like, holy shit, that's exactly what he did. So it was like, Heather, you are the most beautiful woman I've ever met. God, you are gorgeous. Can you send me more pictures? I love you so much. I'm so grateful to have met your acquaintance, to be friends with you. We're different than these people. These people come from bad backstories. These people have been abusing drugs since, their whole lives. These people's parents are not good people. These people, and the things that he would say to me would win me over because they felt true, and they felt like it felt like him and I were being separated for some higher calling, and like the rest of these people were fucked, like just not fucked like someone was going to harm them, but fucked like They had nowhere to live. They were selling drugs, a lot of them.
Exactly.
They were engaged in God knows what type of oppression. They were being targeted either by Cook or the feds or the local or whoever the fuck was working them, walking them. When I say walking them, I mean forcing them into shit, but keeping them on a line so that when the shit gets too deep, they can retract them. Does that make sense? Meeting a lot of wealthy people and business people who do drugs, you will never see someone earning $1 million annual go and purchase their own cocaine. You won't see it. You'll see them send in a middleman, an intermediary, or whatever their drug of choice is. But my point saying this is that there's a very clear, when you reach a certain level of success, all this shit doesn't go away. You just get smarter at navigating it. And the people who Dylan and I were working with and exposed to, they were on someone's line. They were oppressed and probably still are. And they had a lot of bullying and a lot of external control, and a lot of them were Freemasons, and a lot of them were under protections of different, variables, different organizations, different underground, establishments, and some of them police, some of them not police, some of them detectives, some of them not detectives, some of them, doing deals for the state, some of them working probably with mob or, other. When I say the mob, I mean any group, organized group of people engaging in any sort of business that is deemed illegal or unethical. And these people had ties. All of them had ties. I don't know, about now, but in learning all of this from Dylan, and this is all on a recorded line, every fucking bit of it, it's all on a recorded line. I was not working in sexy content. I was on the phone with Dylan saying, I need to go back to healthcare. So what did I do? I got a job at the Illinois Bone and Joint Institute. And I thought, all right, I'm going to stop promoting for a while. I'm going to do only promotional. I'm going to start doing I'm going to stop doing.
What is going on? I'm trying to figure out what is going on in chat with the whole TMJ account. What happened? I feel like I need to know. Like, I want to know. I'm so confused.
Promos in the club. Oh my God, it's almost been an hour.
Gosh.
Part 2 is long, you guys, so I have to end this. But
please do.
This is where it ended. I meet Dylan, and I've gone through all of this. This is a literal 3-month segment of my life. And let's end this with, I decide I'm going to go back to healthcare. I'm working at the Illinois Bone and Joint Institute. I'm going to only do promotional modeling and trade show modeling from now on. I'm not going to go to clubs anymore. I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to promote. I'm not going to go to an afters. I'm not going to do anything like that. I had actually gone into the hospital and told them, I have been dosed. I have voluntarily ingested, and I have, rendered myself incapable of normal thought processes from the amount of concentrated substance that I feel is in my system right now. And they gave me saline, and they detoxed me right then and there.
Really?
So that's documented.
They gave you saline, Heather, and that helped
I decided
you,
that those 6 weeks, those wild 6 weeks, were not going to be sustainable, and that I needed to figure something else out.
That's crazy.
And
you're psycho.
I went back to Illinois Bone and Joint, and I was there for 3 days, and it was very, very clear instantly.
They knew you were crazy.
That
That's
I could
why
not.
they put saline.
I just
They're like, here
I
you
learned.
go. You'll be
I
just
learned
fine.
what
Some IV
business
fluids.
was. I learned how to make money on my own. I made $600 in one night. Illinois Bone and Joint was paying me that in a week. In a 2-week period, I was clearing about $850 at the hourly rate that I was getting paid after taxes. $850 for 14 days of work, or $600 in one night doing bottles. I couldn't. So I walked out of Illinois Bone and Joint Institute after 2 days, maybe. I never did anything wrong there. I never got in trouble there. I couldn't do it. I could not work for $19, $18 an hour anymore. I needed more. And Dylan was like, why don't you start doing webcamming and selling content? And I was like, I could do that, And so that's where I went. I started webcamming and I started doing sexy content. And in doing so, I could still work promotions with Lambo. I could still throw parties. I could still be a trade show model. I could still exercise in the gym. I could find a way through web camming and creating content. I could find a way to do all of the things I wanted to do and still be able to spend 5 days a week with my children and make more money and have more time and be there to pick them up from school and be there, do homework with them and take them to the park during the week. And as I've said a million times, that's what it's always all been about. How do I make enough money to give my children and I a good life? So that's where it ends for today. That was part 2. Like I said, this is a 2 out of 12 series. So I'll be doing another portion of this, part 3, tomorrow. I'm going to try to keep these to 30 minutes because there's just a lot. There's a whole lot, you guys. And there's and I really, if you guys are content creators and you think you could help me with a documentary, I want to keep it to under 2 hours, but I want to make it really dope and really, engaging. And the main purpose of the documentary, not to glamorize the nightlife, it's to explain, it's to let my viewers understand me. So if there's anyone in my following that feels like they could help me with that, I am a fucking boss at digital content creation, but they're not letting me have access, free reign to my devices. When I try downloading AI, ChatGPT, I have ChatGPT, they won't let me work with Canva, they won't let me work with anything. So I could realistically, with what I know and what I've already done, I could definitely create this docuseries or this documentary on my own. When you guys see shitty content going up on my YouTube, like yesterday, I tried to post some photos of myself when I was modeling like 3 years ago, 2 years ago, even this year. I did photo shoots. I still do photo shoots all the time.
Oh my gosh, hurry up.
But I tried posting them. As soon as I clicked post, they fucked with the orientation and zoomed them all in so that you can't. They look like a fucking amateur did them. And they've also been editing my face and making me look real fucking bogus. So if you are someone who could help me with this documentary, I can afford to pay, but I don't have a large budget. I'm living literally day to day. All of my money goes into paying my rent and my car payment. I'm concerned about how I'm going to get money for the kids for Christmas, but I know I'll make it happen. Sponsors, if you're out there and you can help me with this, that'd be great. I'd like to be aware of the project. I'd like to produce the project on my own with a director and, someone who can help me with the actual logistics. Please contact me. Contact me via email, please. Or you could also do DM on Insta. I try not to really make myself too available on there because I get a lot of hatred still. But yeah, if you guys could DM me on Facebook, Heather Gillespie is my profile. My profile photo is me and Weston. Or if you could send me an email to Coco, a GoPro solo production @gmail.com. That would be fantastic. Like I said, I could pay little by little over the course of the project. I want to be very hands-on with the project, and I'm also an asset with regards to that. So give me a call or rather shoot me an email if you can help me out with that. But we're going to leave part 2 at this. My work in the industry is only just beginning. My work in the nightclub industry is turning into a more part-time bartending, bottle service, events planning kind of scope. And I'm doing my best at this point in time to reincorporate the gym as well as, learning the ropes with sexy content, webcamming. So that's where we leave at the end of volume 2. I had just met Dylan. We had been talking for several months. We were in an exclusive relationship, friends, but it's starting to get romantic. And he actually, in the next series, I'll talk about how he proposed to me shortly after that. I would say about 2 or 3 months after we met. But that's where we'll leave it for now. So, all right, you guys, thanks so much for listening. I know it's a lot, and I'm really excited to get a project together that, will help people understand me better, and also probably, bring some value to several other communities. So have a great day. Happy Black Friday. The season of giving. So sponsors, if you can, please help me out.
Oh my gosh.
I know a lot of people from the industry. Paul John, I know that you do horror and scary shit. If you're willing to work outside of that, your normal genre, I'd love to work with you in creating
Open
this
your eyes.
docuseries or this documentary. I know that you probably charge a lot.
Why
I don't
don't
know, who you've been working with lately. I know that you comp a lot for your friend group, but I'm not asking for that. I'd like to, pay if you're interested. I trust you and I know you and I've seen the quality of your work. If you're busy, I get it. Anyone else who's associated with Paul John or any of these
Open your
production
eyes. It's so
companies or
annoying.
non-associated but knows me and thinks that they could be an asset with regards to this project, I'm really thirsty to get it done. I've suffered a lot at the hands of misinformation. There's been a lot of really negative surrounding me, who I am, what I've done to others, what I haven't done to others.
Oh my gosh.
I'm a good person and I'm very nice and generous and kind. And I'm not trying to harm anyone with my project. I'm just trying to get the understanding for my situation that it deserves, and trying to move forward. So, all right, you guys have a great day. Happy Black Friday. Sponsors, tee up.
Wow.